back to my channel if you are one of my subscribers or if you have seen one of my videos over the years. Thank you for coming back and checking out this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I am trying to really build a community for moms, young professionals, entrepreneurs, just anyone who, enjoys my content and really gets something out of my videos. So click the subscribe button and let's talk about how to trust God during hard times. A life is full of ups and downs. It just is what it is. So I feel like the first step in positioning yourself for greatness, for success, is to understand that you are going to have amazing times. You are going to have bad, sad, angry times. And so what you must realize is, everyone's different and everyone handles things differently. Just because you may be able to handle a breakup doesn't mean your friend can handle it just as well. Just because you're able to maybe handle a death or a sickness in a way where you can kind of be that rock for your family doesn't mean that other people can do the same. I have been through death in my family. I lost a brother when I was 17. He was 18 by a drunk driver. I have been through an unexpected pregnancy when I was 24. I have been through a breakup with my daughter's father, which was a huge impact in my life because obviously, and we're in a good place right now. But, it still kind of threw everything off course. I have been through sicknesses with my family. So I come from divorced parents. I've kind of seen a lot, been through hurricanes. I've kind of seen a lot and been through a lot and have really been able to strengthen my relationship with God in the process. And it's funny how when things are going good, we're on this high, we're good, we may not necessarily pray every day, or we may not necessarily talk to God every day. We may not necessarily connect with his word every day. Sorry, this extension cord is throwing me off. There we go. When things are going bad is when we tend to draw nearer to him. And that may be why maybe some things happen. Not gonna go too much into detail because there are people who have their opinions and who haven't really studied the Bible and who don't care to educate themselves, and there are people who do care to educate themselves and do care to grow their relationship with God, and those are the people who I'm talking to right now. I would say my parents divorced when I was 2, so I don't ever remember them being together, but having divorced parents is hard for any kid. I personally think it may be harder when your parents divorce when you're older, when you've already experienced them living together and you are maybe in middle or high school or an adult and you feel that separation happen in your family. For me, I was 2, so I don't remember my parents ever living together. I remember growing up thinking that mommy and daddy both love me, they just don't love each other. Not thinking, but knowing that mommy and daddy both love me, they just don't love each other like that. And that was just my norm. My parents both got remarried the same year, so I instantly gained a step parent. And on my mom's side with my stepdad, he had 2 kids, so siblings. So that was always easygoing for me. I guess I'm just an easygoing person. I've been blessed with 2 amazing step parents. My stepfather Wesley and my stepmother Dia never made me feel like I was their stepchild. Never made me feel like I was the black sheep of their family. So I have been blessed in that sense of having step parents and a blended family. But the first time I can specifically remember going through a hard time was dealing with the death of my brother. When I was 17, so this was in 2006, it was his 18th birthday. He went out to the club, wanted to go out for his first night. I'll spare you all the details. Long story short, on his way home, got hit by a drunk driver and didn't make it. And man, that was a tough time. Being 17 years old, you're young. Of course, when you're 17, you think you know everything, you grow, whatever, you're on the brink of adulthood, whatever. But, dealing with something as heavy as death, especially someone in your household, is hard. And I remember, of course, going through the normal questions of why and why did this have to happen and, all of that stuff. And I had always believed in God. I've always grown up in the church and stuff, but I didn't at that time. I've always believed in God and, respected it and was interested in learning, but I would say I didn't have of course, I did have a relationship, but not the type of relationship I have now with God. I didn't really understand, but I remember during that time being strong at some points, being there for my mom and my dad and my younger brother, who was only 8 at the time, losing his big brother, for my sister, who she lost her younger brother, and also having those sad times where, you know, just questioning why this happened. Fast forward to when I was about 22 years old is when I really got involved in a church. It was called Faith World here in Orlando. It's no longer existing anymore, but it was Pastor Clint Brown, who was the pastor at Faith World at the time, around 2010, 11. That's when I really started to understand more. He just had this amazing way of explaining the Bible to where it connected to everyday life or it connected to different situations. He just had an amazing gift of explaining it where you can understand and you can like really get it. And so that's where I would say my relationship with God really started to grow when I was around that age. And it was because I went to a church and he just had a great gift of being able to explain it so you could understand it. Fast forward, you know, having a baby, and then going through the situation with my daughter's father, which really was kind of the lowest point I've ever been in my life. I didn't know I was in a depression until I was out of it looking back. I didn't know that I was, as they say, self-medicating to kind of run away from the pain, to kind of just sedate myself so I could just fall asleep and just end the day to wake up and start over again. I didn't realize those things were happening when they were happening. It wasn't until after I had, you know, got out of that dark phase and really, you know, gathered myself together that I noticed, like, wow, I was in a depression, because I've never been in a depression. I've been sad, but I've never been depressed, and didn't realize I was until I was on that verge out. And so, you know, how I was able to trust God during hard times was really, really first and foremost, this may sound silly, but just talking to him. Just, even if you don't understand 100% or you don't believe 100%, but you have that yearning and something, you know what I mean, just talking to him. You know, just verbally getting your emotions out, verbally asking him for clarity, verbally asking him for strength, crying in the shower, just releasing everything, because it's so not good to keep everything harbored inside. That's one of the worst things you could do, is keep your anger harbored inside, because you don't want to lash out to other people, to keep your sadness harbored inside because you don't want to hurt yourself, or, you know, really just live that way. And so my first tip, because I know this video is kind of going into like a tell-all / story time, but hey, I'm just going off the cuff right here, just speaking from my heart. But my first tip into trusting God during hard times is, one, to talk to him, to let it out by yourself, okay? And the shower is my favorite place. Before I'm going to sleep, definitely praying and letting it out. The second thing I did was, I'm a very private person. I don't like to tell people my business, even my mom. I don't like, especially if it's about a breakup or stuff, because I want to protect that other person, you know, and I don't want, a lot of times when people are in a relationship and they have their friends, your friends and your family become involved in that relationship with you too. And so you may not tell them all about all the highs and all the good stuff, but if you constantly tell them about all the bad stuff, that's what they'll know. You know what I'm saying? That's what they'll just keep on. And so I've always been the type of person to keep my business, and I don't like, I'm getting all red, I'm itching. I don't like to really share, but open up to some people, and you don't have to tell them everything, but it's always good to have, especially if you have that one friend who maybe y'all been through similar situations, maybe they are a great listener, maybe they are stern on you, but they're a good friend, or your mom, your aunt, sister, brother, whatever. Open up to someone, just to be able to, yes, you're talking to God, but just to be able to also let that out and get an outsider's perspective. Even if it's not what you want to hear, you know, just to be able to have that kind of dialogue and to just have someone else's perspective from a non-emotional point. Another thing to do is to, you know, Another way I was able to trust God during the hard times was when I tell you, every single morning during that season of my life, I was working from home. So I didn't have to report to a job, so I was working from home every single morning, whether I was making Logan's breakfast or I was, getting my coffee, getting ready to start my day. I would listen to a Joyce Myers sermon. I would just go on YouTube and then just Google, Joyce Myers 2017, because this was in 2017. This was in 2016, 2017. So my season of this was literally like a year and a half. And then I started to expunge myself and liberation and whatnot. But I listened to Joyce Myers every single morning. I did something every single morning to start my day on that high note, on that positive note. So that's something I suggest, whether it's you have a good book that you really like to read, whether it's watching someone, listening to a podcast. And I would just, whatever came up, I would click it and I would listen to it as I was, like I said, cooking breakfast or making my coffee or making up the bed or folding some laundry at the beginning of the day. So I can start myself off on that positive note. So if any thoughts ever came into my mind, if I saw anything that made me mad, if anything triggered me, I already kind of had that morning foundation of positivity, of kind of just going with the flow, doing what I gotta do to take care of myself and my daughter. And that really helped. It doesn't have to be Joyce Meyer. You find who connects to you at that time. I don't really listen to Joyce Meyer anymore. I am nowadays I am listening to Stephen Furtick from Elevation Worship in this season of my life. He's amazing. He reminds me of Clint Brown, where he just has that way of explaining it, especially to our age, the millennials, on just relating it to our lives nowadays. He is so bomb. Like, he be using all kind of lingo and like terminology that you wouldn't expect a pastor to use. But at that time, Joyce Meyer, she's the one who spoke to me. And I listened to what she said, I took it in, and I went about my day. I remember during that time, I also fasted for the first time. And I did my research before I feel like I'm getting emotional. I feel goosebumps. But I did my research before I really started to fast, because I didn't want to start it and then quit. And I have a video all about it, so I will link it below. But that really was like me closing the door on that chapter of depression and sadness and that breakup, and really like, all right, Jess, let's get this shit together. Fasting was amazing for me. I did a 5-day, so like a Monday through Friday. It was my first one. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., no food. I did drink water, and I did have like a protein shake if I was working out. And then, I would eat dinner. And one thing that I did when 6 p.m. came for me to eat dinner, I was so grateful for that plate of food. So grateful for that plate of food. I remember a couple of times getting emotional, like about to eat, like, thank you, God. Like, I was so dang hungry. Thank you, God, for this food. As you see, my eyes are like kind of watering right now, just going back to like my feelings during fasting. But fasting is literally just like killing your flesh. If there's something that you want answers to, if there's something that you're confused about, if there's something you're struggling with, if there's something that, you just kind of really want to hear from God about, fasting is a way of killing your flesh and kind of like feeding off of God. So like when you get hungry, what I would do, I decided on a book to read during my fast. It was the Prayer of Jabez. And so, in the mornings I would have my coffee. If I woke up before 6, then I would nibble on something, but more than likely I didn't wake up from 6, let me not lie. But, around lunchtime I would get really hungry. So I love water. So anytime I started feeling those like hunger pains, I'm talking about those pains where it feels like your stomach's just like twisting, I would guzzle down some water and I would go to my book and read. I would pray. And so your biggest thing is you want to pray and feed off of God. And it really... When I tell you, after I fasted, no more than a month later, I started seeing things change in my life in the situation that I was specifically fasting about. And I was just amazed. And so obviously, I want to go more into this. If you are interested in signing up for my 3-day prayer challenge, I have 2. I have my 3-day prayer challenge for your goals and dreams, and I have my 3-day prayer challenge if you're going through a heartbreak, a breakup. I do have a special project releasing later on for those who are going through breakups, heartbreak, and kind of, because I know when I was going through it, I just needed someone to like just tell me what to do. How do I move on? And I was online researching, reading articles, buying books off of Amazon, and just kind of wanted not therapy, but that kind of, in a sense, online therapy that was cheap course kind of deal. And that's kind of what I'm creating right now. So I'm super excited, and I really hope that it touches a lot of people. I hope that it's able to really help a lot of people. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. This did not continue how I thought it would be. I didn't mean for it to be a story time, but it ended up being kind of like a story time. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, or if you have any advice on how to trust God during hard times, leave them in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel and sign up for one of my 3-day prayer challenges, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Love you.